Hey everyone, welcome back. So I wanted to take a look at the real and true reason as to why Gellert Grindelwald was expelled from Durmstrang Institute. You can Google search or check the Harry Potter wiki and it'll say that Grindelwald was expelled from the school because of his twisted and unnatural dark experiments that the school's hierarchy could no longer tolerate. That's pretty much it. Nothing else really until now. I have done a lot of research on this video and completely deep dived into the person Gellert was and what kind of school Durmstrang was, and when I put two and two together, it became really clear what these twisted experiments were, among several other factors that contributed to his expulsion. This is a first for this channel. I've never been in a position to make a video like this, but obviously with the release of the Fantastic Beasts movies and some additional lore, I can finally put together a detailed video on the valid reasons as to why Gellert Grindelwald got kicked out of Durmstrang. So, Gellert Grindelwald attended Durmstrang Institute sometime in the mid-1890s, I'd say his starter year being 1894. He was a very talented young wizard with a lot of it coming naturally, but he found when he properly applied himself to improving his magic through his teachings at the school, he excelled far beyond his fellow students. I know it's probably a straightforward comparison, but he was the Albus Dumbledore of Hogwarts, except in Durmstrang, possibly even better at the time due to his enthusiasm to become as powerful as possible in such a short space of time as possible. It's no secret that he gained notoriety among the students due to his abilities, but something that stood out with Gellert was the fact that he believed in myths and stories with very little foundation. He was completely enchanted with the idea of the Deathly Hallows, for example. The tale of the Hallows inspired Grindelwald to become the Master of Death by uniting all three items, but in order to do that he had to achieve a level of power and knowledge unknown to most. Durmstrang was pretty notorious for allowing its students to learn dark magic, which means all kinds of dark magic, including dark experiments which were acceptable. That wasn't a crime. In saying that, it didn't produce dozens of dark wizards and witches either. I mean, if we look at the story of the Goblet of Fire, there wasn't any horrible Durmstrang students who came to Hogwarts and caused all kinds of trouble. Anyway, when it came to Grindelwald, it was the level or severity or extremity even of these dark experiments that seen him expelled. Now, in reference to these dark experiments, there were clearly multiple occurrences of unacceptable dark magical use. It also stated that these actions endangered several other students, possibly indicating that he was expelled simply for being dangerous. Gellert was a bit of a rebel too, so he didn't really conform to discipline. He done what he believed was right, and if it meant that students got hurt because of his unapproved magical practices, then so be it, if it was for the greater good. Maybe that's where he coined the phrase. He also began writing the symbol of the Deathly Hallows on the walls within Durmstrang, which instilled a level of fear wherever they appeared. The symbols still remain in the school to this day, and Victor Crumb himself once mentioned how he hated that symbol as it reminded him of the atrocities his family had suffered at the hands of Grindelwald and his forces. Although Grindelwald was extremely powerful, he didn't really branch out in terms of what he wanted to achieve and accomplish. He knew he wanted to dominate the magical world and oppress the Muggle race. He knew he wanted to find and unite the Deathly Hallows. He also knew the level of magic needed and what avenue he may have had to go down in order to achieve it. We know exactly what he wanted to do, so therefore I can apply it to what he may have been trying to do in school. Keep in mind guys, dark experiments are legal in this school, so he was technically doing nothing wrong until he took things to a different level. Necromancy is one of the darkest forms of magic in existence. It requires the caster to seek out dead corpses in order to reanimate them to do their bidding. The spell would obviously have to be able to preserve the flesh from further rotting, and the corpse itself would have to be stored somewhere. The worst part for me is dragging a person from their place of rest. Yes, their spirit may have left the body, but the body itself should remain in the ground undisturbed and left in peace. The corpse would have to have certain physical standards. Basically, I mean, they'd have to have some muscle on the bones. Grindelwald wanted to create an army of inferi, meaning he was willing to raise thousands of dead bodies and control them for war. This spell was extremely difficult and knowledge of it was only a myth, but as we know with Gellert, if it is a myth, then it originated somewhere, which means it's more than likely real or true. Voldemort proved that this spell was true anyway, so we know it existed, so Gellert was right. It's very highly likely he began to reanimate dead animals in order to apply the method to humans when the time was right. This was way past what was acceptable by Durmstrang and could have been the sole reason in itself for his expulsion. Something that's noteworthy to mention is that Grindelwald believed that the resurrection stone could reanimate the physicality of dead people, which he planned to do in order to create his army, when in reality the stone accessed the land of the dead and brought the spirits of the deceased back. As far as Horcruxes are concerned, I highly doubt he ever made a Horcrux. I actually made a video some time ago on why he didn't create a Horcrux, and you can check that out at the end of this video, but I would definitely imagine that he would have at the very least been interested in learning about how they're made, and he would have had access to the infamous book Secrets of the Darkest Art. Another student or teacher could have caught him reading a book about Horcruxes and, assuming the worst, especially if he already had a notorious reputation, reported him to the school's headmaster or the authorities, and he's expelled. It was widely known that Horcruxes are a line that none should cross because one needed to commit murder to successfully create one, which was a dead giveaway of their crime. Grindelwald was someone who wanted to absorb all different aspects of magic, even the ones that he did not plan on accusing. That was a massive difference between him and Voldemort. Now, I genuinely believe he most likely had a distaste for Horcrux creation, but it's not too difficult to incorrectly assume the worst if you witness someone read the instructions on how to split your soul. He would have also invented several spells, useful ones, and also dark curses. While inventing new spells is a way of contributing to the magical world, it is also an extremely dangerous practice which has resulted in previous creators being seriously harmed and even killed. Luna Lovegood's mother Pandora, the prime example there. The spell would also need to be registered with the local authority and in order to be approved for use, as it probably wouldn't be appreciated to have unknown curses being cast around the school. It's important to note, and additionally something I think people forget, is the fact that upon his expulsion, Grindelwald would have had his wand snapped and been banned from practicing magic. He ignored that, acquired a new wand, and continued to not only practice magic but vastly improve it and continue to excel in dark magic. He was basically a criminal from the moment he picked up a new wand after he left Durmstrang. He was a criminal before he even showed up on Dumbledore's doorstep, and when Dumbledore joined him, he was aiding a criminal, which in turn made him a criminal unbeknownst to himself. The final clue for what Grindelwald may have been expelled for is in the letter he received from Dumbledore, which reads, "Your point about wizard dominance being for the Muggles' own good, this I think is the crucial point. Yes, we may have been given power, and yes, that power gives us the right to rule, but it also gives us responsibilities over the ruled. We must stress this point. It will be the foundation stone upon which we build. While we are opposed, as we surely will be, this must be the basis of all our counter-arguments. We seize control for the greater good, and from this it follows that where we meet resistance, we must use only the force that is necessary and no more. This was your mistake at Durmstrang, but I do not complain, because if you had not been expelled, we would have never met." So this highlights that Grindelwald didn't take his punishment lightly. He didn't accept it at all, and it was possibly through his resistance to being punished for his experiments did he actually get expelled for. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, and remember, as Albus Dumbledore always says, do not pity the dead, pity the living and all those who don't hit the like button on this video. Thanks again guys, see you soon.